So everything we're thinking about in the future, right? Who's going to be the head coach? Who's going to be the offensive coordinator? Are we going to keep Patrick Graham? Where are we going to get our quarterback? What's going to happen with Maxx? Every single thing we're wondering about kind of doesn't matter until Tom Brady decides if he's going to be the decision maker or not. Really, right? It's who's going to make these decisions? Is Telesco going to make all the decisions? Is Mark Davis going to come on high and make these decisions? Like, what's going to happen? And then Tom Brady, in his situation as a Fox broadcaster, but now minority owner of the Raiders, he can kind of pick and choose what he wants to do. He's not like a salaried president where like, hey, you're paid, you have to make these decisions. It's, I'm an owner. I can kind of breeze in and breeze out or not and go from there. So Amy Trask, who's former president at the Raiders, was on, what show was she on? Why am I already...
Rich Eisen?
Eisen. It's in my notes. I think I would remember. Was on the Eisen show. And they were talking specifically about the head coach. So in just context, they're specifically talking about AP and who the head coach will be, Vrabel or AP or whatever it's going to be. But I think it speaks to Tom Brady's kind of role in the organization, at least in her opinion. Take a listen.
Earlier. Okay, here's my hunch and here's my view. My view is they absolutely positively should factor in everything Brady has to say for the reasons you just said. Tom Brady, I mean, look at his resume, look at his history. The man knows how to win. So of course they should factor in what he has to say. But my hunch is, my view is, my belief is, however you want to call it, it'll be a collaborative decision. They will take Tom's input, of course, and they should, but they will listen to others as well. And I believe they will make a collaborative decision. I have no idea what that decision will be.
So I've been saying I think Tom Brady is going to be the czar of football. I think he'll be the dictator of the Raiders. Amy Trask thinks it'll be a collaborative effort, at least specifically with the next head coach. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a political answer from her. Mm-hmm. I don't know that you bring in a Tom Brady and you do this kind of pomp and circumstance. And this has been a long time coming. And he's going to be there. He's going to be there for a specific reason. He's not going to be a voice in the room. He's going to be the voice in the room. Mm-hmm. And you and I have kind of read the tea leaves a little bit in what Mark Davis has been saying for years now. He's not his dad. He doesn't have the instinct or the scouting ability and doesn't know the X's and O's. And he wants to pull away. He's wanted to pull away from the football decisions for so long. He just hadn't found the right person to do it. Mm-hmm. And things happened and ended, unfortunately in the whole Gruden thing, because Gruden was the guy who made all the decisions about everything. And I think he wants to get closer to that, but he does feel like he needs to have some separation of duties. So he has a president for more of the business side. He needs a president for the football end. He has a GM. He has a head coach now. So it's like he wants to put that in place, because I think the people that are advising him on business tell him, hey, like, you've been doing these things where a lot of these lines have been blurred for a long time now. You need to have these people in position for a reason. And I don't know that Tom Brady's going to be a broadcaster for very long. I think he sees his future more in the ownership end. And I think he wants to be in the ownership end. And it's a lot more lucrative, even though he does have a lucrative contract with Fox. But this is the first step in many for him pronouns, pal, from Tom Brady to eventually, I think, take over.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack here. First off, I think Tom Brady would be more motivated to do. I mean, he has a 9-figure deal with Fox. Like, I get it. That's a lot of money, even for a guy who's already got 100-something plus million in the bank, right? Minus whatever Giselle has taken in the divorce. But when you're that rich, you think more legacy as opposed to just cash money. There's a lot of people with $100 million in this world. There's only 32 people ish. Right?
Only 32 majority owners.
Well, yeah. So Packers are owned by the citizens, and there's a couple families. You know what I'm getting at, right? Small handful of people.
Overblown. We could buy a half a percent of a share in the Packers.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's all kind of, but you get what I'm saying, right? There's essentially 31 owners in the NFL. And when you start thinking like as Tom Brady does, someone who's that successful, that much hardware, that much money, you start thinking more legacy than cash. Like what's going to be cooler to pass on to your son? An extra $60 million on top of the 150 he's already getting, or a piece of an NFL franchise. Like that is like tangible. Like I come from a family business. Like my grandpa bought a trucking company. My dad and my uncles run it. And like, my dad's always dreamed of his nephews and his nieces and his sons and his daughters, like working at the family business and like, that was way more important to him than like handing me money or something. He's like, no, I want to like hand the family business down. I think that's a big part of the motivating factor here. And I think that's the genius that either Mark Davis formulated or stumbled on, is that you have a guy who has this much leeway in Tom Brady, this much say in the entire industry. And when a guy that's won that many Super Bowls, has that many rings, and has that much money, how do you motivate them? Legacy, something you can't just buy by writing a check, something you can't just like have
that
a contract
and power. That and power. I mean, I don't know that he had a lot of power. I know that he had prestige. Tom Brady had prestige, but he didn't really have any power as just a broadcaster.
Yeah,
I think with him being an owner and potentially in the future being in those owners meetings and stuff like that, I think the league will start looking at the Raiders a little bit different. It's not going to be just the same old, bad boy Raiders who are just doing things their own way. I think it's going to have us be looked at in a different light.
I remember when Michael Jordan came out of retirement that last time and he went to the Wizards, and I remember analysts talking about like, okay, what actual impact will he have on the game at his age, right? And you're like, well, they'll immediately win 2 or 3 more games because in super, super tight games, the refs will be swayed because it's Jordan. And you can kind of get like just that, like not even his leadership, his still got a 3-pointer, his way he's going to bring up the next generation. He's going to be like an extra coach. Like, no, just the fact that he has sway with decision makers alone. They're like, okay, that's 2 or 3 games before we even get into the actual basketball. So think of that with Tom Brady. It's like, I went on, I did a Cofield's show on Monday, like I always do. And our friend Adam Hill, who's been on the show multiple times, was hosting in Cofield's Day. And he's like, well, Tom Brady, it's like, is he really going to come in to make that big a difference? Like these athletes, and now you're dealing in kind of like a white collar office setting. It's very different. Is he going to have, guys that are great athletes? They don't always make great executives. In fact, it's normally not the case. So there's exceptions, of course, but normally not the case. I'm like, him being able to just call his buddy at the front office to get something done, him being able to, in the middle of a heated, like Maxx Crosby, right? Is Maxx Crosby really all that disgruntled? Tom Brady can just call him. I'm not saying he can magically fix it, but how many people have the prestige of Tom Brady that can just call somebody and say, hey, let's work this out. I've got a plan. Let's make it happen. That by itself, let's assume, for sake of argument, let's assume Tom Brady's going to be a terrible executive. Just for sake of argument. Just those things I mentioned by itself has substantial value to what he can bring to this organization. Hey, you made it to the end of our video. Great job. I know you want more. Go ahead and click the next video. And if you're feeling crazy, go ahead and subscribe.